my quilty friends, in today's video I'm going to show you how to make the Hourglass Quilt Block. It's block number 7 of our Mystery Block of the Month series, and if you don't know what that is or would like to find out more, I'll put a link down below for you. But for now, let's get on and make our quilt block. You can find a copy of these cutting instructions over on my website. I'll put a link in the description below. On the wrong side of our A pieces, we're going to draw a diagonal line from corner to corner. So I'll just take my ruler, make sure it's right on the corner at the top and the bottom, and draw my line. And I'll repeat that for my second piece. So now I'm going to place my D and my A pieces right sides together, line up all 4 edges, and when I'm happy I will pop a few pins in just to keep it in place. Now we're going to sew along both sides of our line with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So I'm using my 1/4 inch foot to get my 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm stitching at stitch length 2, and I'm using wonderful confetti thread, and I'm just going to start at the very edge and sew all the way to the other edge. I'm not going to worry about a back stitch. Coming off the edge, cutting my thread, and then I'll do exactly the same on the other side of the drawn line. I'll remove my pins, and if you'd like to, you could give that a quick press so it's sitting really nicely and flat. Now we're going to cut along the diagonal line we drew, so I'm just going to take my ruler, place it right next to that line that we drew, and then cut. Now we've got 2 pieces, let's press. Then I'm going to press the seams up towards our D fabric. I'm just going to finger press, we don't want any creases in here, and press. And I'll repeat that for our second piece. So on the wrong side of one of our half square triangles, we're going to draw another diagonal line, but we don't want to draw it on the seam here on that diagonal. We're going to draw it from this corner to this corner. So I'm just going to take my ruler, start in the top corner, line it up on the bottom corner, and when I'm happy, I'll draw a line. So now what we're going to do is place our 2 half square triangles right sides together, but we want the opposite pieces facing each other. So I'll just show you what that means. I'm going to face them right sides together, and then when I open it up, I've got my A piece here and my D piece here, and then if I come to the other side, I've got my D piece here and my A piece here, and that's how I want them. Now what I want to do is I want to sew along both sides of this line, but I want to make sure it's lined up really nicely, because what we're going to do is cut along that line, creating our new block, but we want these seams to create one nice straight line. So basically I'm going to nest the seams along this whole seam here, and if you remember nesting, we've got this seam folded and coming back down this way, this seam's folded and coming up this way. So I'm just going to push those 2 seams up against each other. I'm also going to check all these edges are lined up the best they can, and then what I'm going to do is just open it up and check that it's lining up nicely, and that looks good to me. I'm just going to pop a pin in right on that line, and then I'm going to open it up again, check it on this side, check it on this side, and that looks really good. And then I will just pop a pin in on both the sides, keeping it all in place. And then just like before, we're going to sew along both sides of our line with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So just like before, starting on the very edge and sewing along to the bottom edge. Removing the pin before it gets in the way. Coming off the very edge, cutting our thread, and if you'd like to, you can remove the pins and just open it up and check that you're happy with how that join met, and that looks great. So I'm just going to carry on and do exactly the same on the other side. If it didn't look great, well, you've got 2 options. Can you live with it? Then move on. If you can't, then you can unpick the stitches and try again. But remember, a finished quilt is a perfect quilt, so don't worry about it too much. Now again, if you'd like to, you could give that a quick press so it's sitting really nicely. Then we're going to cut along that diagonal line again. So just lining up my ruler on that line and then cutting. Now we have two pieces. So setting our stitches again, opening it up and finger pressing and just pressing our seams. And I'll repeat this for the second piece. So make your second set with your A and B fabrics, then you're going to have 4 quarter square triangles. That's what these are, and now we have to square them off so they measure 6.5 inches by 6.5 inches. So I've got a ruler here that is actually 6.5 inches wide, so all I need to do is find my diagonal line and line it up on my seam. Make sure my ruler is sitting within the two sides there and then trimming it. Now if you don't have a ruler that's 6.5 inches wide, you would just find that diagonal line, line it up on the seam, and then just measure 6.5 inches wide. So for example, you might just have to cut each side one at a time. So because it's 6.5 inches wide, I know that that edge has to go on the edge of my ruler. Again, that line's on my seam and I'm trimming. Otherwise, you'd just measure that 6.5 inches. And we need to do this on all 4 sides for all 4 pieces. So please repeat that for the remaining 3 pieces. So now we're just going to place our pieces so that they match our image, and do take care in making sure they are facing the right way. So our pieces with our D fabric, the points are coming down and up. And then with our B and our A fabric, the points are coming in. So just checking that. So we want them just like that, matching our image. Now what we're going to do is sew the first row and the second row together. So I'm just going to take each row, place them right sides together, line up the edges, pin and sew along the edge. And I'll repeat that for my second row. If you're enjoying this video, please do subscribe and hit the bell button so you don't miss out on another video. It really helps me out and I appreciate it so much. Okay, let's press. So just placing our rows back in the correct position, I'm going to press the top row to my right and the bottom row to my left. So just setting the stitches again and pressing. Making sure they're in the correct position again, just placing them right sides together and nesting the seam in the center here, where the seams are folded over and coming this way, folded over and coming this way. We're going to butt them up against each other, make sure these edges are lined up nicely, and pin. I like to open it up and check that we're making one nice straight line in the middle there. Oh, we've got quite a few layers going on. So I'm just going to pin right next door. Then I like to pin at both ends, making sure all those edges are lined up. And now sew. Now let's give it a final press. So now I'm going to set the stitches and then I'm going to press my seams open, and it is just a personal preference. You can press yours however you like. It can be a little bit fiddly pressing them open. And then let's take a look at our block. So I'm going to give our block a once over And isn't it super cute? I mean, I know I always say that the blocks are cute, but this one's extra cute. So I hope you enjoyed the Hourglass block. I think it's a really nice, effective block, and if you're looking for a different block to make, you might like to check out last month's where we made the ribbon star block, and I'll put a link up above. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next video.